Rarely do I see something that could be listed as perfect, and when it comes to the anime genre, this is about as close as you can get. Anyway, let's kick off anime with Cowboy Bebop. This is one of the most highly acclaimed animes in history. No, I'm not kidding. To this day, many people put it, if not at their number one, at least in the top 5 of all animes ever made. The year is 2071, and mankind has left Earth behind thanks to what is known as hypergate technology. The Earth is pretty much destroyed, and as humanity has expanded to other planets, crime has expanded with them. The cops are completely overwhelmed, and sometimes they have to call in the help of a few cowboys.
He called you a cowboy. What did he mean? What are you?
Just a humble bounty hunter, ma'am.
The story follows a team of such people looking for thrills and adventures. Okay, fine, they're looking for money so they can eat and keep the ship running, but still. Because frankly, despite their incredible skill, they do seem to spend a lot of their time in financial trouble. Now, I'm not going to spoil much of this story other than maybe a couple of things along the way, just for newcomers, because people who haven't seen these shows, you want to go into it as blind as possible to the many twists and turns throughout. So let's get started with a look at our heroes, starting with Spike Spiegel. Now, Spike Spiegel is a martial arts master trained in the philosophy of Bruce Lee. What sets him, and in fact most of the show, apart from most anime, particularly at that time, is that it's all played straight. This isn't a show for quote-unquote comedy fans. It's more played along the real world. In fact, the world they create here in the Cowboy Bebop setting is actually very similar to the world Joss Whedon created in his TV show Firefly. And keeping the acting played straight really sets this one apart as clearly being made for a mature audience. Now, Spike Spiegel is arguably the main protagonist of the show. The bulk of his character arc involves his past with a criminal syndicate that he left for reasons I won't get into here. This leads to many interesting twists and turns throughout the show that'll keep you interested. He tends to remain upbeat and positive while the other people are down, boosting morale in a very James T. Kirk fashion. However, it's when he's by himself that we see the armor crack and there is a real person beneath all that snark. We learned in the show that he has 3 pet peeves.
Jet, do you know that there are 3 things that I particularly hate?
Really?
Kids, animals, and women with attitudes.
Oh.
So tell me, Jet, why do we have all 3 of them neatly gathered in our ship?
Now next up is Jet. Jet is fairly easy to follow as he is a character that is very straightforward. He was once a cop, and again, I won't go into his backstory because of spoilers, but suffice to say he left the force, bought a ship, the Bebop, and started a career as a bounty hunter. Now, somewhere along the way he lost his arm. Again, I'm not going into the specifics, we'll get to that when you watch the show. And he's joined by Spike, and together they become the bounty hunting duo we meet at the beginning of the show. He brings a massive list of contacts from his days on the force, which helps them track their prey. In fact, he is actually being compared to Murtaugh from the Lethal Weapon series, and I can definitely see that, as he seems to be the moral center for the group. When Spike or Faye, who we'll get to in a minute, go off the deep end, it's his job to pull everybody back together and keep this ragtag family going. However, more than a few times you can see on his face he just wants to look down and say,
I'm too old for this shit.
Faye Valentine. Where do we start with Faye Valentine?
Damn!
Faye is the perfect fool for Spike, as the two butt heads almost constantly when it comes to money and what is considered fun. Now, this is where Jet comes into play, balancing out for most of the series. Unlike Jet and Spike, Faye is actually looking to discover her own past, as she is a woman out of time. She spent 54 years in a cryogenic freezer because in her own time she had an illness that could not be cured. She woke to find herself saddled with millions of dollars in debt, even becoming a bounty herself. She knows that she comes from 2014, but she knows nothing else. Now, ordinarily I criticize amnesia stories, however this one is actually done well in the sense that she never gets her memories back. It's all about her trying to cope with the fact that she never is going to know where she comes from, as opposed to the cliched I suddenly remember everything trope. This is why she is so money hungry, as she uses that money to go off and take her mind off of what was her past and what she's looking for, and merely focus on the now. She isn't the most combat proficient of the group, but what she lacks in fighting ability she makes up for in intelligence and cunning, and if all else fails, her feminine wiles can get her out of more than a few jams.
Damn! You know what they say, Cowboy. Easy come, easy go.
Now the most bizarre character goes to Ed, or as she refers to herself,
Ed will introduce Ed. Full name Edward Wong Hao Pepelu Tivruski IV.
This character is basically what would happen if you mixed the Riddler and the Joker and made them a little less murdery. She is here basically to lighten things up, particularly when the story gets extremely dark, which it does once or twice in the series run. She's a super hacking genius who frankly only joins the Bebop because she thinks it might be fun. Again, like the others, I'm not going to totally go into their backstory because I don't want to give away too much. But you learn with Ed over the course of the series that he's both genius and yet animalistic. In fact, the only member of the crew that she really quote-unquote bonds with is the dog Ayn. Thus we have our crew of the Bebop. Now the show focuses on their journey, not only their personal journeys, but also their learning to accept one another and become that ragtag family I mentioned earlier. But now, next let's talk about the animation, because frankly it is fluid as water. Now yes, nowadays that's become the standard with digital animation, but bear in mind this was all hand-drawn. Rarely outside of a Disney production did you see that level of quality, and especially not for the price. This studio was not at the high end, like you would say from, say, Miyazaki. Now another huge win that the series has is every character, even characters introduced and dismissed in a single episode, are so well developed that you actually will find yourself caring what happens to them as the story progresses. Now many, myself included, believe what gives this series such a wide appeal is the fact that it doesn't focus on any one particular culture. Again, going back to the reference to Firefly, it really does feel like this is a world that is all of Earth, just expanded. You can see influences from several other countries, if not most of them, as there is no one particular flavor that sticks out among anything else. It makes you feel like a future what it would actually look like if humanity actually leaves Earth. If I had one complaint about the series, it can be kind of a long draw when you're first introducing somebody. Because the first 4 episodes, while on second or third viewings you'll see that they really are building up a good deal, it can be rather slaggy to try to get through it. So what I suggest to new viewers is to begin with episode 5 and 6. Then go back and watch 1 through 4, because 5 and 6 still do a good job of introducing everything. 1 through 4 do a good job of filling in the background, expanding the setting, and giving a good deal of foreshadowing for what's to come, and then continue the series from 7 to the end. To wrap up, Cowboy Bebop is an amazing anime, and works amazingly as an introduction to the genre for anyone who wants to give it a shot. This has been our first episode of Anime, and I will see you next time.